The day of the Nitrovec Scholarship Fair was clear, bright, and perfect, an omen if there ever was one. Katie was doing a few last-minute checks on her project to make sure it sparkled. She didn't want to take any chances on something being out of balance. The judging was starting in only 30 minutes, and everything needed to be perfect if she was going to win. She stepped back, put her hands on her hips, and smiled. Perfect and unavoidably grand. Her entry was a large mobile made of intricate glass pieces, each turning on its own gleaming silver wire. The slightest breeze moved the pieces like multicolored snowflakes in slow motion. It was brave, it was bold, it was her masterpiece, if she said so herself. She stole a glance at Peter, one table over, bent over and fiddling with some tube on his project. His wavy black hair flopped over his blue eyes, and her heart did a flip, sticking the landing. She sighed. Steady. She scanned the room, eyeing the other entries. It was the usual. Kenny Terpstra and his Tesla coil, which she was pretty sure his dad had built for him for their 6th grade science fair. Looked like Ronnie Sharp had taken some tadpoles from the creek, stuck them in his sister's blue wading pool, and called it the miracle of life. Down the row, Lisa Banks was trying to coerce some white mice through a maze, but they seemed more interested in crawling up her arm. Katie grinned internally. The competition was thin this year. So much the better for her. She had given up trying to convince her parents that art was her passion, but today was her best chance to show them she could make more than something they would stick on the refrigerator door or display on the back of a dusty bookshelf. The annual Nitrovec Scholarship Fair was the brightest hope for many of Golden Grove's seniors who wanted to go to college. Funded by John Wells, the always upbeat founder of the local chemical plant where Katie's parents were chemical engineers, first prize was such a big gift that for some students it determined where you could afford to go to college. That wasn't as true for Katie. Her parents were happy to send her to pretty much any decent school, as long as it wasn't the Mason School of Art in Chicago that she'd had her eye on since 8th grade. No, that wouldn't be practical, and she needed to think about a career. She had begged them to the point where they had finally given her one hope. If she won the Nitrovec scholarship for her art project, they'd pay the difference. She could already see herself in Chicago next fall, immersed in a world of endless creativity along with hundreds of other students just like her, laughing, sharing ideas. No more condescending comments like, "That's nice, but what do you really want to do with your life?" They would understand there. She already knew she was going to start calling herself Kate. She might even cut her hair short like Audrey Tautou in Amelie. But first, she had to win. She went back to her work, admiring the glint of the fragile glass as it slowly rotated. Even under the stark, buzzing fluorescent lights of the noisy gym, her mobile was beautiful. Just think what it would look like in a real art gallery. The local yokels might not get it, but Mr. Wells's wife, Mary, who she knew was an art connoisseur, would be sure to recognize her talent. And she was a judge this year. And it was high time a project of culture and refinement got noticed. Who cared about the sex lives of tadpoles or a catapult made from popsicle sticks that could chuck an orange across a room? The only downside was that Peter had a project in the running too, and if she won, that meant he would lose. But it wasn't like he was going to have a hard time getting into any college he wanted. He got straight A's in everything. She chanced another glance at his project, and she had to admit it looked impressive. She wasn't exactly sure what it was supposed to be, but it had the requisite metal tubes, wires, and hoses sticking out of it. A little wisp of steam or something floated up from one of the connections. The corners of her mouth drooped. It looked like he was her competition. She'd begun working on her project in early summer, right after school had ended. But she'd told Peter she had a problem she had to admit she'd created only to get his help. How to balance the glass in her intricate mobile. It was just science-y enough to get his attention and get him into her basement where she was working on it.